Nothing in this podcast or on our website should be construed as medical advice. Consult your healthcare provider for your individual nutritional and medical needs. The information presented is based on our research and is strictly that of the author and not necessarily those of any professional group or other individual.
Hi, I'm Sue Becker from Bread Beckers. Welcome to Sue's Healthy Minutes. I'm so excited you've joined me today, and I hope this episode encourages you and allows you to find the answers you have been praying for the health of you and your family.
Today on Sue's Healthy Minutes, we have another amazing It's the Bread story. My guest today, Sarah McKelvey, emailed to share her story with me. She began by saying that she was actually writing to share about her sister and how the real bread had affected her sister's life. She then went on to say that, of course, she could share so many personal things about what the bread had done for herself, her family, and her mother. But she said she really wanted to take the time to tell me a little bit about her sister, Hannah, which she did. Now, the little bit about Hannah's story that she shared was certainly enough to make me want to let Hannah tell it for herself, which I am happy to say Hannah will be my guest next week on Sue's Healthy Minutes, a story I'm telling you, you do not want to miss. But I knew that I could not let Sarah leave me hanging like that. When someone says to me that they could share so many personal ways the bread has helped them, not only do I get excited, but I'm also going to want to know more. So, of course, I emailed Sarah right back to ask her to join me today to tell her part of the story. In our emails, though, back and forth to set up our interview today, she never shared how the bread had helped her and her family. So I'm excited today to hear her story right along with all of you listening. So Sarah, thank you so much for being willing to join me today. And why don't you just introduce yourself, tell a little bit about you and your family and where you're from.
Of course. It is such a joy and honor to be here today talking with you, Sue. It's just wonderful. My name is Sarah, and I'm married to my husband, Brian, for this is going to be our 16th year. We have 4 kids. We have 2 girls, 2 boys. We work full-time in ministry as assistant pastors and also youth pastors. And this is our 16th year together married, and my husband's 18th year this month.
Wow, that's so great.
We live in Dayton, Ohio, and my husband also works a day job. He works 40 to 50 hours a week at his day job, and I clean houses. And I don't really work full-time, but it's getting almost full-time.
And then youth pastors on top of that.
Yes. Oh. Yes. We have very busy lives. It's very full. And we wouldn't change it, for anything, but it is very busy. We are also janitors at our church as well, because we live next door in the parsonage.
Oh my goodness.
So it's very busy.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, we might have to talk about that, because I hear people often say, I don't have time to do the bread.
Oh my goodness. Yes. I'm going to talk about that too, because that was probably my biggest hang up.
Yeah.
Of starting.
Yeah.
And it was just a preconceived idea that I did not have time, and I kind of used it as a crutch a little bit.
Yeah, we may touch on that before
Yes.
our conversation. So what led you to Bread Beckers? I believe you said a friend at church shared with you.
Yes. So we have a dear friend. Her name is Laura in our church. And we actually have a very tight-knit, we call ourselves the young marrieds, but we're not really young marrieds anymore. But we have a young marrieds class, and we kind of just stayed in the young marrieds class. And there's some in there that's been married almost 25 years.
Love it.
Yes. And so we have a tight-knit group, but then we also have even a closer group of ladies, and there's about 4 or 5 of us. And we try to get together we try to get together once a month, but it doesn't always happen. But anyways, we've always been close since I've been here. And so Laura is the oldest one of us. And she's about 8 years older than me, but I'm kind of the youngin' of the group. And we always call Laura our mom. And she's just always been the wise one of us. And she just always offers the best advice. And anyway, she has been milling over a year now. So I think she actually started in maybe the end of 22. And kind of introduced us slowly to it. And she came across you. She has her own story as well of how she found you and Bread Becker's. And so she introduced us. And then, I'm going to also start talking about my kids and some of their issues. But when they started having constipation issues, she was like, I really want to make some bread for you. And I want you to try it and see if it helps. And so that's kind of how we got started. She shared your podcast. So I had tried some of her stuff and really just didn't get persuaded fully yet.
Yeah.
And I was very fond of everything. But when she shared your podcast with me and I listened to, I think the very first one she shared with me was the episode with Sarah Valentine.
Wow. Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Oh, my word. I've listened to that. I don't even know how many times. Probably close to 5 times. And when I heard it, and it was around, I think she actually shared it with me for my sister too, because she had actually made my sister some gluten-free stuff. And so she knew a lot of her struggles. She knew a lot of it. And so she shared with me and I sent it immediately to my sister. And so anyways, we got started that way. And then in September last year, 23, we were actually headed to a pastor's conference in Texas. And a week before that, I don't know if I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, my 12-year-old daughter, she's my eldest, she had just a horrible episode and we had to take her to the ER. We actually wasn't even sure if we were going to be able to make the trip. And we thought she was having appendicitis, like an appendix attack or whatever. And she couldn't even walk to the car. She was just doubled over in abdominal pain and was just throwing up all the way to the car because she couldn't even walk.
My goodness.
And so we were like, oh my goodness. And so we thought it was like appendicitis or something. So we took her to the ER. They ran all the tests. They did a scan of her stomach and everything. And it happened to be that she was so compacted and with constipation that is what caused it. She's actually struggled with constipation pretty much her whole life. And when she was probably about 2, she was on Miralax constantly. We were buying them monthly just to keep her without pain. And so that jump started it. So Laura sent me the podcast. I listened to it, and then I listened to another one about constipation. So on the way to the pastor's conference, I had already discussed it with my husband, and I told him, I think, for a couple weeks, I was like, I think I want to do this eventually. I just don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm ready to commit to this.
Right.
And so, and just the time, it just was like in my head, I don't have time for this. It's an investment. Am I willing to commit to this, So then after I listened to podcasts, I was like, I'm ready. I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this change for my family.
Right.
And so I'm sorry, I'm probably going to be a little emotional today. I'm hoping I can gather myself. It's a very emotional thing for me. So many ways for my family and most of all for my sister. So when we got back from the conference, I walked in the door and my husband had surprised me and he had bought the meal and it was sitting in my kitchen. He had somebody come and get it off our porch. So, it didn't get stolen or something.
Yeah.
And so surprised me with it. And I think we got home on a Sunday night. But as soon as we got home, I was so thrilled. And I told Laura, I sent Laura a picture, and I was like, look what's in my kitchen.
Yay.
And so Brian was like, maybe Laura would share some grain with us. And so I was like, Laura, can we get some grain from you? And so she let us borrow some grain, and we made bread like immediately. It was either that night or the next day. I can't remember now.
That's funny. That's exactly the way it was for me.
Yes.
I made bread that day.
And we were just on cloud nine. And from then on, it's almost the same excitement. Like every time I make bread, it's surreal. It really is. It's the best.
Yes. And tell me about your daughter. So did it helped, obviously?
Oh my goodness. Yes. That is the biggest change for all of us. So I've had constipation issues since kids. I didn't really have any problems before that, but after I had kids, I just struggled with it. I would have to take fiber pills and sometimes Senna, all that. But my kids have kind of struggled with it just constantly since they were little.
Yeah.
And within 2 days, it was completely taken care of. And I would check with them because I'm like, some of them are older, so you're not with them in the bathroom. So I would check with them, how's it going? And, ask them, describe it, and they're like, it's great. It's great. And so it's been absolutely wonderful. Not any problems with my daughter since then. And that was middle September of last year.
You started milling.
We started milling at the end of September last year.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah. So that is one of the biggest differences that we saw just so quickly. It was wonderful. Yeah. And the other thing I don't know if you're ready to jump into that, but the other differences in our family personally was my kids always wanted to snack constantly, and they never felt full. And after I started milling, I started kind of going through our pantry and getting rid of stuff. You just kind of purge everything. And I wanted to start making healthier snacks. So my kids love Cheez-Its and Goldfish. So I was like, I'm making homemade. We're making homemade Cheez-Its, and we're making it with freshly milled flour. So anyways, I went through that, and it really helped me. It helped me kind of discipline myself and be more intentional with them. Yeah. And be more intentional in what I was buying in the store, and also just having ready for them. And so what I had been doing is I would set out on the counter muffins or cookies or like a sweet bread or something that they could just grab off the counter. Or I would lay fruit. I would set it by the fruit bowl, and they could, get an apple or a banana. They really like fruit. And so I like that as a snack if they would prefer that. Or I would just have muffins available, like just mini muffins is their favorite. It's very easy for them to grab. Instead of going through the pantry and, thinking they're going to find some snacks in there. And so I found that them snacking on, just a muffin here and there, they don't snack all day long, or they don't want to snack all day long. They have felt full longer. And I have noticed that with myself. I can eat just a roll in the morning or some toast, and I stay full, and I don't have like sugar cravings, and I don't have just cravings at all.
Your story is, I'm sitting here going, this sounds just like me. When it started, I had 5 young children. My oldest was 12. And, it was just the same thing. I noticed.
Yes.
Constipation for me was done, and I ate the bread tonight, and that was over the next morning. And I tell people all the time, one of the biggest things I noticed, and as a homeschooling mom, you really notice that the kids we'd just get breakfast cleaned up, and they would already be back.
Yeah. And I would still be cleaning. They're like, I need something else to eat. I'm like, I haven't even cleaned up yet.
Yes. And Yeah, and the same. I kind of cleaned out the pantry and went, and I would tell people, if you have chips and stuff in the cabinet, that's what they're going to go for because that's the easiest. But just like you, I had bowls of fruit, I made muffins, but then gradually they just didn't even eat that. They were full. Yes. And it was funny. I mean, they're teenagers, as we went on, and they even started commenting. It was like, can't believe how much so-and-so eats. They snack all the time. There's always food, Yes. And it was kind of foreign to them. So that's really funny. The bread is, and I always think of Jesus when he said, I am the real bread of life. He who comes to me shall be satisfied. And that's the sugar cravings. That was, that's just the testimonies.
Yes, I had that in my notes that it satisfies.
It does.
And really the only thing I crave now is the bread. Like when I think of something to eat and that I want to eat, I want a piece of bread or I want a muffin.
I'm telling you, you're satisfied with one roll, or even if you make a cookie, you're satisfied with one, maybe two. You don't need a whole bag,
Exactly. Just a small amount goes a long way. Just yesterday, I had one piece of toast in the morning, and I normally make eggs and toast, but I didn't have time yesterday. I just grabbed a piece of toast, and I actually forgot to eat lunch, and I normally don't forget. And I had my daughter with me. She was sick home from school, and we were, running around. I was trying to get the church clean and totally forgot. I was heading to go get the kids from school at about 2:40. I ate a piece of toast probably at 8:45. And I hadn't even thought about food. Like I wasn't even hungry. I got in the van and I was like, oh my goodness, I totally missed lunch,
Yes.
And, it's just so different. But the other thing I was going to say was, which I think is connected with constipation, is bloating. I would constantly I kind of would just feel bloated like all the time. And I just thought, it's just normal, whatever. And then whenever the constipation went away, the bloating went away. And my 12-year-old even noticed it as well. After we had ate the bread a little while, she was like, Mom, my stomach feels so good. She was like, I always felt like bloated a little bit. And she was like, I don't feel that way. And now she's where she does not want to take any junk food to school. Like she wants to take everything healthy because she knows the difference. Yeah. Even at 12, I'm like, this is so wonderful because this is setting her up for the rest of her life.
Yes.
She's going to remember this and she's going to carry this on into her family. And so I just love that. You just feel so good.
Yeah. Yes, that's amazing. And that is so wonderful when a 12-year-old notices that.
Yes.
Yeah. Especially, having an incident like that I'm just so happy. And it saddens me though, that the medical treatment is Miralax and laxatives and all of this. And it can't be the way to have to live, in an emergency situation. Yeah, I understand, but not have to live that way when something simple as milling your own grain and making your own bread can correct the problem. And it's delicious. They like to eat it. So
yes, it's not hard. Hard to eat. And we've always been bread eaters too. So I'm thankful that my kids, it wasn't a hard transition, at all. And really, I'm very fortunate that they're at a pretty young age where they pretty much love everything that I make. So I'm at a good place to start right now.
That is perfect. I'm sitting here just kind of laughing, with just joy because our stories are so parallel. It's just it's really funny. So, any other health issues your husband, that you've seen resolve?
That has been mainly it. My son does have some warts and we are working on getting those. I told him, I'm like, you need to have this every day to take care of this. And he has gotten rid of some. So we're still, working on that, but hopefully that will be a testimonial eventually.
Yes. Okay. Now I'm really curious. You mentioned your mother had seen health benefits. Were you making the bread for her, or did you get her started bread for herself?
So a little backstory on her. She kind of was getting a lot of like gluten intolerances as well, that she thought. And so she started just trying to do better, just going gluten-free, or at least just as much as she could.
Yeah.
So she seemed to feel better doing that, but it didn't, fix other health issues and stuff. And so she also started having gallbladder attacks really bad. And she was considering even having surgery, even scheduled surgery for that. But then after I started milling and they had come over for a weekend, I was like, Mom, you got to try. I want you to try everything. I want you to tell me how you feel. I want to know everything. I want to see if this will help you. And I had been sending her podcast. Every time I would send my sister, I would do a group like with us three, and I would send it to them both. And a lot of them was gluten-free related and just different facts and knowledge about that. So they came over, and I had made some muffins, and we made biscuits and gravy, and I made like pumpkin bread, all with fresh and milk. And Mom ate it all, like all the different kinds. And she was like, I feel great. Like, this is not bothering me at all. And almost everything she would eat would make her have a gallbladder attack. Okay.
You mean before?
Yes, that's so. Almost everything. She would almost have to just eat soup. Like, they would make vegetable soup and would eat on it for days and then make more vegetable soup. Like, they lived on vegetable soup because she was so worried about having a gallbladder attack. Mm-hmm. And so at the end of the year, last year, she scheduled a gallbladder removal surgery. And I was a little uneasy about it, but I didn't want to say anything. So I just prayed about it. I was like, Lord, if you want her to have this, then that's fine. Go ahead and have it. But if it's not, help it to stop, just take care of it. And so during that same time, Mom was struggling with going through with it, and she didn't say anything. She hadn't told me. And she called me one day. She was like, hey, I just decided to not have my surgery. And I was like, really? And I was like, I wanted to tell you that I was a little uneasy about it, but I didn't want to persuade you one way or the other. I just wanted the Lord to take care of it. And she was like, I was really struggling with feeling okay to do it. And so she was like, I was praying about it, and I just feel like it's the best thing to not do it right now. And that was actually after she had come over and ate. She felt good. She wasn't having any attacks. I milled her some flour for her to take home with her. And then my sister, after she ended up getting her mill later, she would mill her flour, because my mom lives in Indiana, and we live in Ohio. And so we're a little bit far,
Yeah.
We can't just run it over there,
Right.
So we would mill it, and I just told her to keep it frozen, until she could use it. So she was feeling great. She made her own muffins. She ate them. She was like, I have no problems with it. No reactions, nothing. And I actually called her yesterday because I was like, Mom, Sue Becker asked me to come on her podcast, and I wanted to talk about your journey or whatever. Is that okay? Because I wanted to make sure she was fine with it. And she was like, yes, that's totally fine. And I said, I just need a few details. Have you had any attacks? And she's like, no, I have not had any since before that. And so I was so thrilled, and I'm so thankful that she didn't have to go through that surgery, and that she's keeping it pretty much stable. And hopefully, it'll just resolve.
Yes. Oh, man, that is so wonderful. That is so wonderful to hear. That is just so great. Okay, we're going to talk about Hannah a little bit. He's going to be on next week. You've told us a little bit, but tell us what made you share the information about Real Bread with her. She was diagnosed with celiac disease, I think you said, at 14.
Yes.
She's had quite a struggle.
Yes. I won't do very many details, but yes, you're correct. She was diagnosed at 14. She had a procedure done where supposedly it showed that that's what it was. And then it took her about a year to actually go completely gluten-free, because that's so hard for a 14-year-old. And I remember how hard it was for her. And she just turned 29 this month on the 4th. And so it's been a long time, 15 years, wow. 14 to 15 years. And it has been so hard for her. And it's been hard for me to just see what she has went through too. People don't realize how kind of isolated you get when you can't eat, like everybody else. And with our lifestyle, food is a big part of our life.
Yes, as youth pastors, as pastors, as active in church. I mean, meals are a big part of church.
They are. Food is everywhere. Yeah. And I mean, church dinners and going out to eat and, just all the things. I mean, I was there with her at times when she couldn't eat anything. She couldn't have anything. She would just sit there, And back when she first started, going gluten-free, you couldn't go to restaurants, and they didn't have gluten-free menus like they do now, and gluten-free options. So it was a lot more. Now it's a lot more popular, and it's available more today. But it was so hard, and there was days like if we were running out and had something busy going on, she wouldn't have eaten for the whole day. And she would get back to the house and just be starving, Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's risky. Like, she couldn't have cross-contamination at all. Like, if they use the same utensil, the cooking utensil, for the same, just cross-contamination at all, or the same pans. She had to have her own pan. She had to have her own toaster. Like, everything she had to have separately. And everything had to be made separately. And, it's just a burden, just a major burden in her life.
Yeah.
That she's had for so long. And not only that, I won't get too much details, but it has really made her very sickly during that time. She would contact every sickness there was going around. If one of the kids was sick, she would get it. Just anything. She had very low immune system, all of that. But I'm sure she will get into all the details with that. But I'm going to start crying. But she was my biggest hope through all of this, that she would be able to have this and it would change her life. And not only that, but she would be able to have nutrients again.
Yeah.
Because after learning about all of this and all of the gluten-free stuff, it's not a healthy diet.
You're buying the prepared stuff. I mean, there is truly celiac disease, but it affects less than 1%, much less than 1%. And I've had so many concerns about people going gluten-free that don't really need to go gluten-free. And to be honest, that is the majority of the people. But I understand, though, when you take, it's the bread that's in the store. It's not wheat. It's not gluten. Yeah. Not processed bread, but they're so nutritionally deficient that I've seen, and I think you mentioned Hannah saw the same thing. They get sicker and they begin to develop more and more sensitivities, eggs, dairy.
Exactly.
Just opposite of what they believe. And I've just been so excited over these last years to meet people that find that they can not only tolerate bread made with freshly milled wheat, which has those gluten-forming proteins, but they actually begin to thrive. And they look and they feel the best they've felt in years. I can't wait to hear Hannah's story and how it's rebuilt her health. And how did you encourage her? It's hard when you see people like Hannah, your sister, that get so sick if they even have cross-contamination, a utensil. I mean, that's extreme. Were you scared to get her to try the bread?
So we are very close. So I really I tried to be delicate, especially, I just didn't want to send him a video and be like, you need to watch this. This is, is facts. I don't do that. I would send her a video and be like, I just listened to this. I don't know if it's true, but if there is a possibility, this could be, the answer that you need. I really would just approach it that way. And she was very open to it. And, but she's also very knowledgeable about celiac disease.
Yeah.
And so she was just like, it doesn't matter. At the beginning, she was like, it doesn't matter. It's wheat, and all this stuff. And I was like, but I think it could be actually the wheat in the store, and,
right.
Just try to slowly encourage and just gently, I guess. And, but my heart was just like yearning for her to just be able to just embrace it. And, but I have never been there. I've had a little bit intolerance to like eggs and milk, but nothing like she has had. So I have not had the pain that she has went through. So I can't imagine like thinking, I can't eat this bread. And if I do, I'm literally going to be in so much pain for the next 24 hours.
Yeah.
And so I can't imagine that. But I was like, if you could just start small, if you could maybe just eat a few bites, and then the next day, maybe if you can tolerate that, then the next day, see if you can just eat a few more bites, and so she kind of started that way. But I don't want to share her story, but,
right. Yes. I love that you encouraged her, you shared with her. And one of the things that you said in your email that got me a little teary-eyed, how you said that real bread has opened up a completely new and beautiful world for him. Because I don't think those of us that don't struggle with those adverse type of reactions, we don't understand the bondage or the lack of freedom. Yeah. Last year, I had the opportunity to pray for a beautiful woman who shared that she was desperately asking God for food freedom.
Yes.
Her life of food intolerances were very much like Hannah's. She was terrified. She had gone to the hospital almost like an anaphylactic shock. And so her words, food freedom, they touched a place in my heart and my mind. And I've just never forgotten those words. And that's my heart cry for others like Hannah. And so when you said that this has opened up a completely new and beautiful world for Hannah, that just touched me in a place that just blessed me beyond measure. So your story and Hannah's are going to bring so much hope to so many who will listen. But
I believe it. So at first, she did have a little bit of reaction, something mild at first, and then she was also pregnant and about to deliver her second child. And so she's not really sure, if it was the bread, just different things. But I was so proud of her. She said, as soon as I have the baby, I'm going to wait, because the pain and what she went through, she's not sure if it was the sickness or if it was the bread reaction, but it caused her to have contractions really bad because she got so sick.
Yeah.
And she said, when I have the baby, I'm going to try again.
Yeah.
And so she tried again. And I'm so proud of her for continuing. And I actually sent her the podcast that talked about the detox and how you can have
adverse
reactions, right away. And I just would encourage her. And I said, if you can tolerate this after you have the baby, I completely understand this. But if you can tolerate it and it's not as bad, keep trying, because it may just be the process of healing your gut and all of this. And you've not had this for almost 15 years, and it's your body just getting used to it again, possibly. And she did that. And she is now, I'm sure she will never regret that,
Yes.
And I'm just so proud of her because, and this was I was like, this could help somebody that maybe did have a reaction and that got scared, and was just like, nope, I can't have it. But it could encourage them to not stop there and, continue until they can.
Right.
And so she was like, well, maybe it could be the detox.
Yeah. or like you said, the healing. And it's hard for us that haven't and don't experience these type of adverse reactions to say, oh, just keep trying, because it could mean life or death, for some people.
Yes.
So I'm just so glad that you both encouraged each other and stood by each other, because, with all the anti-grain, anti-gluten, anti-wheat stuff out there, when people do have a somewhat adverse reaction, their first thought is, oh, okay, I can't eat this. This is making me sick. And when sometimes it does need to just take a little perseverance and prayer and seeking the Lord's wisdom. Well, I want to go back and just touch a little bit on your busy life.
Yes, I can talk about that all day.
I know, man. Everybody here realizes how busy you are,
Yes.
But that's something I hear all the time. I don't have time to do this. And I just want to hear from someone busy like you, with so many obligations and responsibilities for family, for church, for youth group, for pastoring, for a wife. How did you incorporate this in your lifestyle? How did you get over the hump of saying, I can do this, of negating the I don't have time?
Yes. So I figured that I needed some tools to help me. So I thought I would need the bread machine, because I was like, if I can put, the ingredients in there and have it make it for me, and Laura actually suggested that to me.
Yeah.
Because I kept saying, I just don't know if I have the time. I don't have 3 full hours for the day.
Right.
And she's like, well, then get a bread machine. And I was like, oh, I didn't even consider that,
Yeah.
So I did. I actually found a Zoe off of Marketplace for an excellent deal. And I started using that. But then when actually Laura was so sweet, she came over and she showed me techniques on how to make the bread just by hand and with a KitchenAid. And so I actually found a KitchenAid on Marketplace, and which has been a life changer for me.
Yeah.
It's in so many ways. I didn't know what I was missing in my life. And so I got a KitchenAid and I got a bread machine, and it has helped me at times where I need bread the next day, but I don't have the 3 hours to spend on it.
Yeah.
And so like Sunday, I came home from a week-gone trip from a wedding, and I needed bread the next day. We actually needed everything, but I was like, if we at least have bread in the morning.
Yeah, we can have a piece.
It's good.
Yeah.
And so I mixed all the ingredients up, put it in, and it was ready for me in the morning.
Yeah.
And so times like that is so beneficial. Now, I do prefer it, mixed and baked in the oven, and, all the steps. It just turns out so much better. But if I need it for toast in the morning, the bread machine works great. And so the other thing was, of course, I was scared about the time, but once I got into it, and I was a little not confident in myself, I guess. And I was just like, I just don't know if I'll be good at this. I don't know. It was very overwhelming, I think, to me. And but when the first time I did it, I even did by myself before Laura came over and showed me a few techniques that helped. I was like, oh my goodness, I can do this.
Yes.
Not hard at all.
Yes.
And so you just think it's so complicated in your brain, but it's not.
No.
And not only that, it is very therapeutic for me now. When before I say this now, it was a dread that turned into a delight to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, it was more a chore before, just to have, dinner ready, or, just prepare food, or it was just more of a chore. And now.
Or bread. Yeah.
Yeah. Bread. Yeah. Anything. And so after I started making bread, it almost shifted everything else. I don't know. It's so weird. And it is now, it's so fun. And now I let the kids help me, and they love it. And it's just, I don't know. And maybe I'm just in a different stage of my life. I'm not sure.
I found the same thing. I'm just laughing. We
Yeah.
have similar stories because I want to say mealtime was kind of a chore.
Yes.
I enjoy cooking. I always have, but it was almost like I just need to make something to fill our stomachs. You know,
Yes.
it's mealtime, you know, and
Right. Check it off for the day.
husband question of what's for dinner. It's like, oh, okay.
Yes.
But now just having the bread in the mix, when you can put something on the table, this is more than just filling our bellies. This is satisfying. This is, and the smell, and
It is.
it never gets old. It doesn't. As soon as we're done, we're going to get up and make bread.
Yes.
But
It's so fulfilling.
Yeah.
And I wanted to mention this too. I hope it's not out of line, but it actually, the Lord just orchestrated it. He's really good at doing things like that.
Yes, he is.
But he really just brought it in at the right time of my life, of our lives, really. So we bought land 2 years ago, and we were hoping and dreaming to build a homestead. Long story short, it did not work out. Over the last 2 years, a lot of things have, arose, especially interest rates. And that was the last step that we're like, it's not going to happen. And so we had the land. We did enjoy the land for the last 2 years, but we were just, a lot of dreams that was going to be there. And it ended. So during that time, we ended up listing the land because we thought, if we can make a profit, maybe we can use it for something else and we would be in a better place. And so right after we listed the land, I was having just one of those days, just a rough day. I was questioning the Lord, and I was just like, why? I don't understand. I don't understand this. Why can we not have this? We wanted a farm. We wanted animals. We've been at the parsonage for 10 years, and it has been a blessing in our lives. Not saying that at all, but we're just ready for, our own place. And we're ready for land for my kids. And so I was just like, Lord, this doesn't make sense to me, and this is all good for my kids. These are all good things that, that we want. Why can't we have them? And I'm going to start crying again. And the Lord literally spoke to my heart just immediately. And he said, you can have the home that you want with what you have.
Wow.
And, just smote my heart, but it has really challenged me. And I don't know what all that entails right now. And, I'm still daily, trusting and believing, but it has changed my perspective in a lot of things. And whether that is me challenging me to cultivate my home the way God wants me to, just what I have with my family. And I don't know what it all entails, but I will say, and I've told Laura this in our girls group, I said it has been milling my own flour and making everything, bread and just healthy food that is just packed with nutrients. That has been healing to me during this. And it has brought just joy again to my life that I was needing at this time.
Wow. That is beautiful, Sarah.
So grateful for that because it was just what I needed.
Yeah. And you didn't even know that it's what
I didn't even know it. And who knew that, cooking and baking and all that would do that for me, because before it was just the biggest chore, just eat your food and let's go,
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. We got to go to the next thing. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm so grateful for it in so many ways. It's changed our lives. It's changed our friends. We've been able to share with so many of our friends. And Laura even made how you can do a family tree, but she made a family tree of milling moms,
Oh, wow.
It's just branching out. And there's so many in our church now that has bought mills that have needed it for their health and that are seeing health benefits already. And it's been wonderful. And to me, it's just a ministry like anything else.
Yes.
And we're actually, which if this airs Monday, it'll be the day after, but we have a once a month ladies group from our church, like all the ladies once a month get together, and we're doing a whole night of freshly milled and like teaching on it. And we're doing the whole menu is all freshly milled goods and everything. We're doing a brunch, and we're so excited to just share what we know and what we've learned.
Oh my goodness. That is so amazing.
So that's actually going to probably be the day after this airs. So we're very, very pumped about it.
Wow. That is so great. Sounds like y'all need a Bread Becker's co-op, and I would love to come and meet you all and speak.
Oh my goodness. We need to work that out.
Yeah.
That would be so awesome. Laura is actually coming to your store or your setup there next month, and she's doing a hands-on training thing. So she's so
oh my goodness. With my son, David. Oh.
Yes. And she's like, I get to try the ink and all of this stuff. She's telling us about it, and I'm so thrilled for her.
Oh, well, I want to find out when she's coming, and email me that, because I want to.
Yes, I'll tell you, I will get that from her. But I told her about the podcast. I sent your email to her, and I was like, look, Sue contacted us.
Well, I'm going to have to talk to Laura next. It sounds
yes. Oh, you will love Laura. You will love to talk to her, and she will love to talk to you.
Wow.
But she was like, I'm a little geeked out too, because I'm going to her store next month. We are just so thrilled. So thrilled.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for emailing me and emailing me again. I don't know how our communication kind of got lost, and then just taking the time out of your very busy day to tell your story to our listeners. And I know that your story and Hannah's are going to bring such hope to so many who will listen. What you just shared is amazing. And but I'm going to go on and ask, are there any last words of encouragement that you would like to share with everyone before we close?
Yes. And I just remembered, I forgot to mention one thing, and I think it's very important to mention. My sister-in-law, I have a sister-in-law as well. She's on my husband's side, and her name is Cindy. They pastor in Arkansas, and she has actually been gluten-free since 2008. She's had problems her entire life. And I wanted to mention this because it's a little funny, but she has had gut issues and been gluten-free. And so she was wondering about this, and Laura had been sending her, podcasts and different things and about it as well. And my husband was going over there for Thanksgiving. And so I was like, I'm going to make you some bread. I'm going to see if you can have this. I'm going to make you some cinnamon bread. So my husband took it with him, and she ate on it for like 3 days. And no problem. She Margoed me. She's like, oh my goodness, I can eat bread. And she's like, not only can I have it, but I feel so good.
Yes.
And she said, you're not going to believe this, but she said, there's this Mexican restaurant that we go to, and I absolutely love their cheese dip there, their queso. And she's had dairy problems as well. Like, she don't really do dairy unless she just loves something, then she just regrets it later. But and her boys actually have intolerance as well, gluten and dairy as well. And so she was like, I ate this bread for about 3 days, and then we went to this Mexican restaurant, and I love their queso, but a lot of times I don't get it because it just bothers me for so bad. It just tears my stomach up. She said, I ate the queso, and she said, it didn't bother me at all.
Oh my God.
So can you explain that to me? And I said, well, all I know is that I've heard other testimonials that when their gut was fixed, it actually fixed other allergies that they had gotten. And I said, I've heard that their dairy allergies were fixed. And I said that kind of sounds like the same thing. She said, yes, it's not bothered me at all. And so she was just amazed. So I was trying to get her some bread over Christmas, and the shipping was just outrageous to do like shipping. So we ended up not doing it. But then she was kind of waiting on my sister to see how she did before she committed as well. And so she kept checking with me. She was like, how's Hannah doing? Can she have it? Can she do this? Has she been able to eat it? And so I would kind of keep her updated. Well, then the last time I had talked to Hannah, which I'm not going to share, but I was like, I Marco'd Cindy. I said, Cindy, Hannah's doing great. And I said, you have to go buy a meal today. I said, whatever you have to do, get a meal. I said, it will change your life. Like, it is whatever you can do, sell something. And so about a week later, she went ahead and bought a meal, and it's just continuing. And so I'm excited about that. But
making you a little more bold. So it sounds like the word of encouragement today is buy a meal, get a meal.
Yeah, buy a meal. I know. But I wanted to thank you from the depths of our heart. I know that if my friends were here, they would say the same thing, and just with all genuine, from their heart, for answering this call, because I believe it was a calling on your life. And thank you for answering the call to teach the world about freshly milled flour and empowering us with the knowledge. And most of all, teaching it from the Word of God. That is, I think, the most powerful part is from the Word of God and how you tie it together. That means so much to us. God has used you as a vessel to help so many lives thus far, and I'm sure so many more to come. Our heartfelt thank you for that, Sue. Appreciate that. But if I could encourage anyone out there, no matter what your life looks like, busy with little extra time, maybe no confidence in yourself like I was like, I just can't do this. You are able to do it. It is possible, and you can do it. If I can, anyone can, and you will not regret it.
Amen. Yes. Wow. And yep, it has been a calling on my life. And I just want to thank you, Sarah, and anyone for reaching out and sharing your story with me. I cannot explain to you how it encourages me. Many times they come at a time, believe it or not, I get down and go, am I really making a difference? It's a blessing every time I hear a story like yours and Hannah's, or it doesn't matter, or my child is no longer constipated. It really blesses me. So Sarah, thank you. Thank you for sharing today. And as always, I just want to thank all my listeners for listening today. And I want to encourage you, remember to share your story, and maybe even some real bread or muffins with those that God brings into your life. You never know how God might use this one loaf of bread or batch of muffins to bring hope and healing to someone's life. And I'm just going to encourage you, don't forget to tune in next week as we hear Hannah's story. And I have a feeling we're going to hear some Cindy story, Laura stories. This may just go on, but perhaps tell a friend who may need to hear it as well to tune in next week. And until next time, this is Sue Becker from Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minutes.
Sue's Healthy Minutes podcast has been a presentation by the Bread Beckers Incorporated, located in Woodstock, Georgia. For more information, store hours, and learning opportunities, visit breadbeckers.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast and never miss an episode. Share this with 2 friends who would benefit from this information, and be sure to join us again next week for more of Sue's Healthy Minutes.